Welcome to the R.E.D Network, where real estate dads juggle the high-stakes hustle of their careers with the heartwarming chaos of family life. Whether you're closing deals, changing diapers, or chasing dreams, we've got you covered. Join us for stories, strategies, and laughs as we navigate the perfect balance between hustle and home. The R.E.D Network, where real life meets real estate.
All right. Welcome back to the R.E.D Network, the podcast where we highlight real estate dads who are building businesses and raising families, all while making an impact. Of course, I'm your host, Jason Huck, and today I'm sitting down with a good friend of mine who truly embodies service in every area of their life, Alex Jimenez. Alex is a devoted father and lender based right here in Spring Hill, Tennessee, and with over 2 decades of experience in the mortgage industry, he's made it a mission to help veterans get the most out of their VA home loan benefits. But Alex's impact doesn't stop there. He's the commissioner of a local softball organization, the founder of a nonprofit that's changing lives, and now he's stepping into the world of public service as a candidate for local office. Whether he's behind a microphone on the AJ Nashville podcast or under the hood of a car, Alex brings passion, purpose, and a people-first mindset to everything he does. Today, we're diving into his journey, how he balances business and family, why community involvement matters more than ever, and what drives him to keep showing up and serving at a high level. Alex, let's get into it.
Do I clap for myself?
You can. That was a solid ChatGPT intro right there.
Man, I love it. It's like it knows me.
It does know you. It does. Anything I missed from your intro there?
You know, I wish I had time to spend underneath the hood of a car, but not as much as I once did, right?
There's never enough time.
Right.
If only you had a few more cars to spend under the hood.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's go ahead and get into kind of the beginning. Tell us about your family. Obviously, you and I have known each other for a long time. For those that don't know, our kiddos have been best friends for quite a while. Our sons actually went to daycare together from like 6 months old.
I think it was 8 weeks. It was super young.
Yeah, it was super young. So they've known each other for a long, long time. Tell us about your family, your journey to Spring Hill, and what brought you here.
So I have 3 kids in total. I have a daughter that's 10, my son that's 8, which is Carter's best friend, as you know, and then Kyler, which is 22. What brought me to Spring Hill, we were living in Franklin at the time, had a baby on the way, needed to settle down and do the thing that we all get to do, which is purchase a house, right? So I had to help myself in my own journey of home purchasing. Spring Hill was the affordable and most likely place to end up in at that point in my life. And so that's what brought us here. The schools, everything that brings a person to Williamson County is what's kept me here. So here we are.
And then, of course, those kiddos, they get us involved in all the things. You've been very involved in a lot of things with them, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit later. I want to talk about your career and your mission first. Mm-hmm. You've always been a leader and a professional in the mortgage industry. You've been doing it for over 20 years. It's a long time, and there's a lot of shifts that go along with that. What's kept you grounded and focused during over 2 decades of being in that mortgage industry?
Man, we've seen some changes over that period of time, right? And to say 20 years, like it almost makes me shudder a little bit because that makes me really old.
You're so old. Yeah.
Right, I'm so old. We're all so old. So, yeah. But the big thing is beyond the financial portion of it, you get the opportunity to help people achieve a dream that maybe some never thought they could achieve, or maybe it's a dream that they've achieved multiple times. But it's being able to serve and help these clients navigate through one of the most difficult things in life, if done incorrectly, right? We could all agree that there's been lots of cases where maybe the wrong person worked with the wrong person, and they end up in a situation where it's just a difficult process. And the nerves and everything that goes into purchasing a home, my goal is how can we navigate those things? How can we do those things? And there's some fulfillment there, some gratification there, when I am able to help somebody and they do say, hey, this was the best process I've ever experienced, or I've never done this before, but it wasn't that bad. I don't know what my friends are talking about. Mm-hmm. there's that section of it. And then there's also this, there's a piece inside of me that's super analytical that enjoys solving the problems that some people may bring when their situation's a little bit different than the norm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, whether you're a real estate agent, an investor, a developer, a lender, a builder, you name it, whatever area of real estate that you're in, there's a big difference between real estate professionals and licensees, right?
Yes.
And, there's no shortage of real estate agents out there. There's no shortage of lenders out there. But what there is a shortage of, unfortunately, is professionals that are going to put the client first and really treat it like that's the only thing that matters at that time. And you and I have had the opportunity to do quite a few deals together. Yep. And, there's a noticeable difference in the way that you handle yourself, your business, and treat the client during that process. Fortunately, whenever we're on these group texts, I become the butt of most jokes, but also keeping it light and fun while we're also going through what you said, a very stressful process for a lot of people. We have the opportunity to do this every day. We work in this world, and it can even be challenging for us. I use a bike riding analogy a lot of, we do this every day, and sometimes you're riding that bike uphill, and that can be hard. These people do this like once in a lifetime, once every 7 years, once every 10 years. And imagine if you hadn't ridden a bike for 7 to 10 years, and then now you got to go ride it up that hill. It's going to be even more stressful and challenging. So having somebody kind of be those training wheels and having somebody guide them along the way is so important. And to kind of make it dive a little bit deeper into what you do so well is that you've built a reputation that goes above and beyond for our veteran community, which, with my dad, has been very important to me. Dad being a veteran Marine and somebody that you get to hang out with from time to time at the ball fields.
Yep.
Where did your passion for VA loans and the veteran community come from?
So let's take somebody like your dad, for example, right? You got an individual that has served selflessly and sacrificed for our country to do and perform the things that most of us will never, ever think of, so we can do the things that we're never, ever outwardly thankful for, right? How many times has a person woke up and they got to walk outside and they got an opportunity to turn their TV on and watch whatever channel they want and speak the language that is native to our country, which is English, and do all those things without the thought process that the sacrifice that individuals like your father, Fred Huck, has made in order to allow for those things to happen for us. And when I look at the complexity of things, you realize that the VA home loan is something that's often it's thrown in a corner, right? It's thrown in a corner as a difficult puzzle and nobody wants to solve it. So let's go over here to the easy puzzles. Let's get the big, 10-piece puzzles versus the 1,000-piece puzzle over here. And that goes back into the solving portion of my brain. The other thing is back in 2008, there was a company, and I can tell you specifically the event that turned it. There was a company called Franklin American. This was during the mortgage meltdown. And they had a program as the VA home loan benefit. They came out and they handed out booklets, 30-page booklets that explain to you about the VA home loan. I read this thing from cover to cover. Believe it or not, I know how to read, but I read it from cover to cover. And I ended up with a client that was a police officer in Clarksville. And we all know Clarksville has what? It's got a lot of veterans, a lot of active duty service members there. And I was able to work with this individual, and I had a connection with him. I have a dark sense of humor. I'm very outward. I'm very, this is who I am. This is what you get type person. And I was able to experience and do that with this individual, and I enjoyed it. Right. And then I realized hey, these are kind of my people. Like, these are the people I enjoy working with. And these are people that are underserved, and there's a complexity to this thing. And so there was just a gravitational pull towards that specific type of individual, and I grew up at, near military bases and things like that. And I had the desire to join the Army when I was younger. My favorite movie was Top Gun. Like, all the things that we look at when we look at individuals that wear a uniform, there's a hero status to it, right? That's why we dress up as Army men and Army women when we're kids. It's not because it's like, hey, it's this thing we just think is a phase. It's because it's a really cool thing to do, right? Mm-hmm. And so having the opportunity to serve and having the opportunity to give where I didn't give and where I didn't sacrifice for my country, right? But be able to say, hey, this is the benefit out of everything the hip pain, the knee pain, all the experiences that you experience. This is the one thing that you truly fought for that I can fight for you on. I don't have to load my weapon and go out with 80 pounds worth of gear on and be in the middle of the desert in order to do the same sacrifice they did. Instead, I get to navigate the program to make sure that they experience something that's smooth and seamless because their service is deserving of that.
Well, like you said, smooth and seamless, because I know, my dad, probably not going to gel real well with a online, mortgage company that you're talking to a robot or somebody from who knows where in the country, if in the country, and filling out documents and all these different things. It's just never going to happen. And so then they're automatically going to think, well, just, home ownership is not for me. And having somebody like yourself being able to show them, not only is it for you, is I can make it as easy as possible. And because you've already sacrificed, I'm going to make this as easy as possible for you so we can get you the best outcome out there for sure.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So one thing I really admire about you is your discipline and mindset. You show up consistently for your clients, your family, your community. Where does that drive come from? Where does that discipline and mindset come from for you?
A word you'll hear me use a lot is I get to. I get to do the things that I get to do, right? And so I don't look at many things as a task like many of us do. And listen, I'm human. I'm just like everybody else. I sometimes say I have to, I've got to, things like that. I'm human, just like everybody else. But when the thought process of I get to do those things become a thing that you regularly decide to do, that's when you realize like you only have so many years on this earth, or so many days, or so many hours, or so many minutes, whatever it may be. There's only so many, and then that clock will be punched for you. And so I want to be able to do the things I get to do on a regular basis as often as I can, because one day these days will be gone. And so we talk about things like, hey, you're at a football game, and right after that, you got to go to softball practice. And right after that, you got to do this, you got to do that. But those days will soon expire. And so when I look at it as opportunity versus something I am required to achieve or do, you look at it through a different scope. And so the mindset of whatever obstacles may stand in between that suddenly become not a big deal, right? Because sure, it may be an inconvenience to spend an all day Saturday at a softball field and be there for 12 hours and have to load the car and unload the car and do all those things, right? But those days will be gone. And I understand those days will be gone. So I have to look at things through a positive scope, because as a young child growing up, I didn't have the ability to get to do those things. I was forced to do the things as a child that I was forced to do, and as a young adult, because I didn't have the choice. I hadn't created the pathway, right? But now that I can, and now that I do, the mindset always has to stay positive. I have to be the lighthouse, so to speak, for these children that are looking up and saying, what's the next thing? What are we doing? Do we get to do this? Do we have to do this? How does this look? And so I always try to keep that in mind, that whatever's going on up here, whatever problem I have, right? Let's say an issue in life, there's somebody else out there suffering more than I am. I have to find the solution to whatever problem I have, because it's not the worst problem in the world. And I owe it to the people who are experiencing that don't have the same opportunity that I do, to maintain a positive course and be that lighthouse.
I love that. And you and I, we've had many conversations around this, and we're completely in alignment around everything. And there's a few phrases that I use all the time that are very popular in our world. But one of them is that change your words, change your world, right? Yep. And like if you change, you touched on it just a second ago. If you change I have to I get to, like I have to go to work today, or I have to be at the ball fields at 6:00 this morning, or I have to get from here to there and get the kids changed and eat and all these different things, to, man, I get to do this.
Right.
And how cool is it that I get to do this and be present while still funding a life that we want, and the opportunities that we have. I think is so important. And also looking at it from the impact of, from the kids' standpoint, there's more that's caught than taught. We had a guest on a few episodes ago that they used that phrase, and it's stuck with me ever since. More is caught than taught. We can try to teach these kids a million different things, and they're going to look at us like they're not even paying attention, right? And they are, but really what's caught is how we react to everyday scenarios. We're very fortunate. We get to spend a lot of time with our kids, and they get to see, how does mom and dad react to these scenarios? When there's a problem, when we're out to dinner, when we're at games and we're winning, or if we're losing at a game, how are mom and dad reacting? Our kids get to see us in the investment world. We got an investment property together, and you and I have separate investments as well. And, you want challenges, go get some investment properties, right? And
Yes.
we just talked about that before the call.
Yeah.
And yet we get to have those problems. And if we treat it like that, then guess what? Our kids are going to see that. And do we think that our kids are going to have problems someday? Yeah, probably. And how are they going to react? Are they going to react and just have total meltdowns because that's what they saw mom and dad do anytime there's any sort of inconvenience in our lives? Or are they going to look at it and be like, oh, bummer. Well, I wish I didn't have to deal with that, but gosh, what a great problem to have. There's worse problems out there. Whenever I'm working with somebody in the real estate world, and they're going through some tough times. They've got some challenges, and a lot of times I'll just thank God for putting me in that place to be able to have the opportunity to help them, for trusting me to be the person to help them, versus saying, gosh, I wish I had an easier project to work on right now.
Yep. Agreed.
So I love that. Switching over into the world of kids, the whole theme of the Real Estate Dad Network is balancing hustle and home. Mm-hmm. How does Alex Jimenez balance hustle and home?
I prioritize. I take Fridays off. That doesn't mean that I'm not available for my clients. That doesn't mean I can't answer a phone. Like, we're in a world right now where I could be in Zimbabwe, and as long as I have service, I can service a client, right? But that doesn't mean that I have to be glued to my phone. In fact, my thought process is, if I'm inside these, there's more than 4 walls in this building, but we'll say these 4 walls, right? If I'm inside these 4 walls, the sign on the front door might as well say closed, because my job is not done well in here. I have a team to do that part of the job, the admin, the clerical side, right? My job is better done in front of other people. Mm-hmm. And so what I decide to do is I decide that, hey, on my schedule, it says 4 o'clock. What does that mean? That means I get to go home, and I get to get the kids off the bus, and I get to get them ready for practice or whatever the case may be. There's no negotiation of that. There is no, well, hey, I got to take this call. No. You're going to have to wait. Because I've built my business over this course of 20 years to the point where my clients appreciate that I have time to do the things I get to do, and that I will dedicate my time to them when the time for them is appropriate, right? And they respect that because the caliber of client that I have built through the demand of my type of business. In addition to that, I started to understand something that I didn't understand many years ago. And many years ago, I had the desire, I got to be number one. I got to be the big producer, $60 million worth of business, $70 million, whatever that number looked like, right? So I was the big dog on campus. It never was the true big dog. There's always a bigger one. Mm-hmm. Then what I understood is the true definition for me of wealth was the exchange of time. Mm-hmm. And so what I wanted to do, instead of being the big producer, was being the person that had the most time to do the things I chose to do. And so when it comes to balance, I am fortunate that I've built my business in a way where time is a priority, and time is the monetization that I get to enjoy.
Yeah. I saw I think it was an Instagram post the other day, and it said that the new definition of wealth is time spent with your kids.
Yep.
And to be able to go to the beach and to be present at the beach, to be able to go to softball or baseball or football and to be present at softball, baseball, and football, and to be able to be at home on Friday, get them off the bus, get them where they need to go, and be present without that drag over here of like, hey, I'm on the phone while I'm being present, getting out of the car as soon as you get home and kind of give them the 1 second, and they haven't seen you all day. Being present for your kids is that new definition of wealth, because you said it earlier, there's going to come a day where we don't have somebody to get ready for baseball or softball. There's going to be a day where they're not getting off the bus. And so utilizing that time, and we run our businesses very similar. When somebody's working with us, they're not working with us individually. They're working with our business. And we're in a very right now world where between Google and ChatGPT, we can get whatever we want at the click of a button, right?
Yep.
And so that's the expectation. There, no one's wrong for that expectation because we've been conditioned to know we can get whatever we want, whether it's an answer off of Google or a pizza from Pizza Hut in a click of a button, right?
Yeah.
And so also setting it up to where our business is that click of the button. And if you need something from me, here's when you can get it, and here's when you can expect it. And so that's I don't believe that there's a whole lot of balance as far as like, okay, cool, I can be working and being a good dad and like doing everything all at the same time.
Yeah.
There's times where I bring the kiddos along with me on a showing or something like that. I think that it's good for them to learn those things, and that's I think like bonus quality time, but that's not the quality time. It's doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, so you can do what you want to do when you want to do it.
Agreed. Yep.
I love that. So not only being very purposeful of your time and giving back to your kiddos, but also to the local softball world. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll also go into running for office.
Yeah. I am a glutton for punishment, right?
You are. Every time I talk to you, you're like, hey, guess what? I'm doing something else, and it's for free.
Yeah. I'm doing it all for free.
Yep.
And here's the thing, to a degree, it is for free, meaning there's no compensation in a monetary standpoint, right? There's no greenbacks being exchanged for this. But I'll tell you, some of the greatest payments I've ever received have been at those softball fields when the kids are smiling and having a great time, or like last night, Lincoln plays today, and I took the chalker and I wrote Outlaws in the next to the first baseline, right?
Awesome.
And so those kids are going to light up when they see it because that field was prepared for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that exchange, the currency exchange that appears there is those kids having fun. The parents pointed out all the pictures that'll be taken. That knowing I provided an experience for the families involved, that's the currency exchange that I receive. And even though it is a selfless, thankless, I'm not going to go that far. It's not thankless. Even though it's a selfless opportunity, it's one that the exchange is well worth it. So the softball end of it, daughter, son playing softball, baseball, and there was a calling that said, hey, we need someone to stand up and be a leader in this position because the current leadership is on its way out. And I just happened to be the man that was for the job. As right place, right person. And the opportunity popped up. Rowan no longer plays softball at a rec league level. She's playing softball at a travel level, which is a higher level for those of you that may not be familiar. But there's a passion in knowing that, like, my daughter played there since she was 4 years old. Mm-hmm. She's 6 now. So she spent all those years with somebody else providing the opportunity. It's my turn to step up. And there'll come a day, like we talked about before, where my days are out. And I'm not the one there, but I get to be the person that may stand there and watch my grandchildren play at that field and say, man, I remember back in 2024 to 25, I helped build this, or I helped do this, right? And that is compensation that I want to receive.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. And it's, like you said, it's payment that you're getting, but you can't put a dollar on that.
No, never.
And just gives you a little more time with your kids.
And it gives me some more time. Like, listen, when I get to the field at 8:30 at night and it's quiet and there's no one running around, and I can collect myself and I can gather my thoughts, and it's just me and the John Deere and some hours worth of labor. It's actually really calming. That decompression that we get a chance to do, I get to do it, but return something of value to other people while doing so.
Yep. And you get a sweet parking spot.
I do. And I pay for one. I pay for one of them. I pay for one of them with cash, the other one's with time.
That's right. I wish I could use one of those. I may have to pay for one with cash the other day. I had a heck of a time finding a spot.
Hey, the Jamboree is coming up.
Yep.
Those spots will be available, but here's what I'll say. It's not sitting right here on my countertop, but I got my checkbook ready. So let's go.
We'll have to outbid each other on that one for sure. So then let's go into not only donating your time to the local rec leagues, but then now in office. Tell me about that.
I never served my country in the form of serving it in the military, but I have always had the want and the thrive to serve my community, serve my city, serve my something, right? And I wasn't stuttering there. I was just saying that's how my mind works. And so this is an opportunity. I can't stand by and complain about the things I dislike that are going on within the community and then not do anything about it. I would just be another one of those people if that was the case. So instead, I decided to take action. I decided to take action because I know how to run a business. And when you look at government as a whole in the broad picture, it is nothing more than running a business. You have employees or you have citizens and people that work within your organization, right? The citizens would actually be the end consumer, so to speak. But you have all these elements that are very similar to a business. And I'm like, well, I know how to do this. Surely I can do that. And I'm fortunate. There's this thing that I think we often take lightly, and it's called a vote, right? And a vote is somebody putting their faith and confidence in your ability to achieve something. And I have not been elected yet. I will figure out tomorrow if I'm elected or not. But my belief is that the belief of the people is I am capable of doing what needs to be done and doing so without the integrity that can be persuaded, right? Because when we think of government, what do we think of? We think of, the old analogy like, hey, they should wear like NASCAR jackets where it shows like who sponsored them.
Yeah.
I don't need sponsors.
Yeah.
What I need is to know that I provided something that my children can be proud of when they grow up.
In your community. Yeah. That's awesome. What would you say to people, especially dads, that feel like they don't have the time to give back like you've given?
Prioritize.
Okay.
Figure out what is important to you and make that important thing top of your list. And maybe at first it's not giving back, but maybe it's prioritizing certain things and ridding yourself of other things, right? So I'm a firm believer in if it doesn't make me money or time, get rid of it, right? So mowing the grass, okay, it may cost you $30 to mow the grass or $40 or $50 to mow the grass, but it may take you 2 hours. Well, if you don't have time to do some of the things you want to do, but you got an extra 40, 50, $60, why are you still mowing your grass?
Yeah.
So prioritize the things that are important to you and push back the things that are not.
Man, that was it was something my dad joked about whenever we moved into our new house of, not mowing our own yard, right? Yeah. And I grew up on a farm. I've mowed my share of grass. I've paid my dues. We had 28 acres of grass, it seemed like. And, been there, done that, check that box. And like you said, all right, I've got 2 hours of time and everybody's got the same amount of hours. Here's 2 hours that it's going to take me to, gas up the lawnmower, clean everything up, go out there, mow the lawn, weed eat, make sure everything looks good, clean the 1,000 balls out of our backyard beforehand, and then now clean up, shower, get ready. And what could I have done with that time? If I'm out showing homes, meeting with clients, at leadership events, all these different things. And that's, hey, I have to do that. This is when I need to do that, or I get to, right? But this is what those allotted hours are for.
Yeah.
Then, okay, well, these 2 hours could be spent with the kids, with Sammy. And so, okay, well, I can pay $40 or $50 for that, right?
Easy.
To have my time back, because then I can be more purposeful with my time, which then allows me to be more purposeful with my work time and make more income.
Yep. And if you take it one step further, this is the one step I always take it. If that person that you're paying to do that service also knows that you're in the real estate business and they're mowing a lawn and someone's like, hey, get it really clean because we're getting ready to list our house. Well, guess what? Jason down the road, he sells houses. Like the introduction can only happen if the opportunity exists. And so that's an opportunity, right? We forget about that additional step that sometimes gets taken. And if you get one deal in a lifetime based off that, I would say your lawn cutting has probably paid for itself.
Paid for itself. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And you get to network and create more relationships there, find more people to help.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go into a little bit of rapid fire to kind of close us out. I'm going to ask you a couple quick questions and just kind of give me the first thing that pops into your brain there. What is the best dad hack that you have learned so far? Best dad hack.
Ooh, that's a good one. I want to say patience, and I know patience isn't one, but having patience and telling yourself like that bad boy's like woo-saw and grabbing your ears, that's the best. Just having patience, processing.
Yeah, I think that was something that I struggle with. I'm not a very naturally patient person.
Yeah.
And just trying to be a little bit more present in the moment and know that this is not a big deal. And just having that patience, again, going back to, they're going to see how you react. Do you react like they're an inconvenience to you, or are you reacting like you're a leader and you're available to answer questions?
Yeah.
Things like that. Patience is a good one. What is your favorite way to unwind after a long day? We kind of touched on one already.
Yeah. That is the thing is some type of either learning something, which I know that sounds kind of weird, but like I will teach myself something. I learned how to trade options in a 2-week span to a pretty good degree, because my unwind time is to educate myself. And I know it sounds nerdy, but it's an opportunity to fulfill and put together things up here, but also kind of relax and live in someone else's world for a little while.
Man, you are a big nerd. I found that out early on in our friendship. I forget what it was that I'd asked you, but man, like you were just like spouting it off. And I was like, dang. And then I remember there's another time we were looking up some sort of technology and just nerding out on it. And I was like, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
And, but I totally get that. I think, if I know you're like me, I don't like to have like an idle mind for very, very long periods of time. And so finding something else to where you're kind of obsessing over that, because that then becomes your like unwind and relaxation.
Absolutely.
What's one lesson that you hope your kids learn from you?
Nothing that's worth having is going to come easy. And I say that with a pretty rapid response, because my children are under the guise that things just arrive, right? Because we've been fortunate, and you already know this because you lived a similar life. Things don't just pop up. It's not, you don't just get this iPhone 16 Pro because Apple came out with it and there it is. You got to work your butt off. And it may seem easy from where we're at in life because we've allowed ourselves to be there. But Ben Affleck said something to his son. I saw this little short video, and his son said, these shoes, he said, they're only $3,000 and we're rich. And he said, I'm rich. You're broke.
You're broke.
My kids are broke, right?
Yeah.
But we provide a lifestyle where I think the people around us think that everything just happens. And I need them to know that everything happens through the way of hard work and making things happen. You put yourself in the positions that you desire to be in based on your actions. And that's what I want them to know.
And I think it's such a great lesson that you really have to spend a lot of time, especially in our area, of focusing on that with your kids, because, you and I think we have a lot of work ethic, and it's probably because of how we were raised in the environments that we were in, and not necessarily the same environments that our kids are in.
Right.
And it's not going to be just ingrained in them naturally based off of their ecosystem. And so I know we've talked about this. Sammy and I have talked about this. How do we provide that for our kids?
Yep.
And I think it's through sports. It's through extracurriculars. It's through, chores at home, things, like that. And like you said, anything that's, worth having is going to be hard work. Even going back to, you had referred a hitting coach to me. Carter's getting more serious about baseball. And hey, if you're going to be a little more serious about baseball, it sure is a lot more fun if you're good.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some opportunity for improvement, we'll say, in our batting currently at that time that we were talking. And showing them, hey, if you put in the work, if you go and you spend the time and you put in the effort, and your hands are going to hurt and you're going to be a little sore and you're going to have to be tired from school, and then also go to practice, maybe after another practice, and put in the work. But hey, guess what? Now you're leading the team in home runs. You're hitting the ball more consistently. You're able to show them, do this, get that, in an environment where, it's a pretty cush environment. And so having the ability to show them, hey, hard work still matters.
Yep. And Carter's a prime example of that, because I get to watch these videos that you post on your Facebook of his development. And I could tell, I tell Shane, I'm like, look at the way the ball is going upwards at this angle, at this speed, like versus how it used to, right?
Oh yeah.
So to your point, that hard work is paying off, and you can visually see it.
Oh yeah. Oh, and he loves it too. And he's seeing it now, because there'd be times he was tired. He's coming home. He just wants to relax on the iPad on the couch. And then I'm like, hey, buddy, we're getting ready to go to hitting practice. And he's like, oh, God, like I I just sat down. I'm playing Roblox. I don't want to go. And then, sometimes it's a little more fight than others. And then, now he's seeing the results. And we're heading back in the Jeep. I was like, hey, buddy, you're hitting it really good. Like it's a noticeable difference. And he's like, yeah, I think the hitting lessons are paying off. I was like, do you think we should quit? And he's like, no. And so we'll be there tonight. So getting another one in. All right. You got a lot of cars, big car guy.
Yeah.
What is the favorite car that you've ever owned?
So the favorite. Okay, let me start this. The most fun I had was
kid for you.
Say again.
Is this question like hey, who's your favorite kid? Is it kind of like a similar question to you for that? Yeah.
Yeah. The favorite car from hey, this was the most fun was my Audi RS-Q8. And because it was such a sleeper car, it appeared to be like a minivan almost, but it was 700 horsepower all-wheel drive, like let's roll. Yeah. My favorite car, and you'll love the story behind this, my BMW M6. It's the green car that I have. Yep. That is my favorite car because on my pursuit to have that car, I set a goal. And mind you, it was not a cheap car when I purchased it, but I set a goal that I had to hit a certain number. And the first year I did not hit that number, but I told everybody about this goal that I had. So I activated this part of my brain that was on the constant search for this goal, right? And the second year I hit the goal about 3 months prior to actually hitting the goal, prior to my timeline. And I found the car in Huntsville, Alabama. And I said, I'm going to go purchase that car. And I jumped in my other car at the time. And my friend Luis, he rode down there with me. I walked into the dealership. It was Audi of Huntsville. And I sat for the first time in my life. And listen, all of us or some of us or none of us can relate to this. But I knew without question, I was getting approved for that loan that I was going to have to get on this vehicle. There was no questions asked. And that was one of the first times in my life I knew I could do it based on income, based on credit, based on the money I had in my pocket, right? And when I drove that car home, it was 605 horsepower, rear-wheel drive, not a whole lot of cars like that out there. And there was a sense of pride. And this pride, till this day, still exists. The car has stayed. I put 900 miles on it in the past 18 months. I was at the ball field one day, and James joked around with Shannon and said, hey, a ball flew over the fence and hit Alex's car. And Shannon was like, no, you don't understand. Like, that's Alex's car. Like, that's his car. It means the world to me because it is a demonstration, or we can call it a trophy of hard work, commitment, life change, and all these things that most people will never understand about that car in itself. It's just a car, but it's symbolic of a milestone in my life.
It's not just a car.
Right.
Man, I love that. That's cool. And I think there's something about putting yourself in a position of like, hey, this is happening, and now I'm going to have to rise to the occasion, right? Or it's going to be super embarrassing if not. And so it's almost like just let's burn the boats. We're getting the car. Yep. And that's really cool. All right. Last one. What is your go-to mindset book or quote that fuels you?
Go-to book. I would say Extreme Ownership, Jocko Willink. Through that book, I understood that my environment was provided by my actions. I understood to take ownership for the things, even if I didn't want to, right? Even if it was easier to say, well, hey, Jason, the underwriter found this. The real question is, well, Alex, why didn't you find it? Well, that's not my job. It is your job. You're the highest paid individual in the whole transaction. You're telling me you couldn't ask that question in order to uncover that problem? No, that's your problem, right? And so I started to understand that it's very difficult to be mad at an individual that says, I messed up. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to be mad at a person that's willing to take accountability for the mistakes they've made and said, hey, I messed up and I'm going to fix this problem. But in the future, this problem will no longer exist because I'm going to have this thing in my process that will always stop that problem from not being uncovered. Mm-hmm. And so Extreme Ownership, Jocko Willink, it is a life-changing book, in my opinion.
Man, that I'm actually on the second time for that book. I've read it before, it was years ago, and every now and then I'll kind of feel like what season am I in, and kind of go back through my library while I'm at the gym and just click on another one. And on the second go around for that, it's a solid book, and I think using that for not just business but health, life, am I spending enough time with my kids that I want to? Do I have the relationship with my spouse that I want to? Am I doing well or as well in my career that I want to? Things like that, and just taking that extreme ownership, I think, is important.
Yep.
anything that we have not covered that you feel like we need to?
No, if you don't mind, I just want to, for the people listening, just say this, we all go through these storms in life, right? We go through these times, and I adopted this saying, and I don't know if I made it up, someone else made it up. I'm sure somebody else much smarter did. Everything is temporary. Whatever issues that we're experiencing at whatever time we're experiencing them, it's only this little snapshot of life. And we often get buried and embedded in a problem and make it a bigger deal than it actually is. And then we reflect back at that day and we say, whoa, that wasn't that big of a deal. And everybody says hindsight's 2020. But when you're looking at your situation right now, you have to look at, how did I arrive here? What did I do to get here? What's the best solution to get out of this? And is this going to last my whole life? Let's face it, there's things that will last your whole life, such as cancer. Cancer may last your whole life, but guess what? Let's make the most of what you have in front of you right now with the decisions that you're left with. Mm-hmm. So the only thing that I want people to walk away from everything I just said is realize that everything in life is temporary. Let's make the most of the opportunity that we currently have. And Jason, you said this earlier, it's being present. So be present as much as possible. Everything else is trivial.
Man, I couldn't agree more. We speak the same language on things like that. And I think, you and I may seem a little bit more calm than the average bear in most situations. I think it's because of just that. We're able to separate what are the things that I can control right now. Right. Okay, those things that I can control, what do I need to do and how can I make the best decision possible with those things? The ones that I cannot control, that deserves zero amount of my mind share and stress. That's where stress comes from, is when we try to control the uncontrollable. We're trying to control traffic. We're trying to control weather. And we're stressing over these things that we can't do anything about. I can't do anything about 13 tornado warnings last week. Here's the things that I can control, and let's pour our energy into that. So I love that. I know another thing that you had taught me, I want to touch on this. It just popped into my head before we go, is we're talking about like your time blocking, right? And where you're focusing your energy and where you're blocking your time. I remember you asked me, do you have a chess clock? Mm-hmm. I was like, man, I play chess on my phone, but I don't have like a chess clock. And you had told me put a green piece of tape on one side and a red piece of tape on the other side. Yep. Anytime you're doing a money generating activity, which is what we were trying to measure at that time, money generating activity, hit that green button. Mm-hmm. Anytime you're doing anything else, hit the red button. Yep. I guarantee you will probably have less than an hour or less than 2 hours of that green time. Yeah. There's no way, man. I'm at work 8 hours a day. I've got to have at least like 7 hours of green time. No, it was like an hour and 37 minutes. Yeah. And you look at it from that frame and you're like, wow. All of this other stuff just needs to get done. And so, making the best use of your time, but then also focusing, like you said, on the things that you can control and eliminating the rest.
Yep.
Awesome, man. Well, I know you stay busy. Really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us and, all 2 or 3 of our fans out there. And so we'll have to do it again sometime in the future.
I'd love to.
I'll be seeing you on Saturday or on Sunday at flag football. And until then, let's keep balancing, hustling home.
Yep. Sounds good.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.